You are experiencing the Knuckleheads of Liberty podcast.
It is October 22nd, 2025, and welcome to the Knuckleheads of Liberty, where we are bringing you the people and the organizations fighting for liberty around the country and in your region. Today, we just have the Knuckleheads with us, no guests, but we have some interesting topics to go over. We're going to give you another update on the longest shutdown in government history, so not sure if we should celebrate or be concerned. But, we're also going to talk about Trump targeting boats coming out of Venezuela. We're going to talk a little bit about Newsome signing a bill against anti-Semitism in schools here in California. We're going to talk about Barry Weiss reintroducing CBS to the concept of journalism. And then finally, we're going to talk in our Knucklehead Noise Patrol about Zoran's promise to New Yorkers for a free ride. But before we get to any of that, let me introduce you to our panel. In our lower left-hand corner, we have Leon, the word Brathwaite, last word in liberty. He is a retired engineer in the state of California. In our lower right-hand corner, we have our screaming eagle of freedom, Tim Evart. He is a pilot in the state of California. My name's Jason McPhee, and I'll be your host today. So we always start out with a quote of the day, and usually it's some kind of a liberty quote that hopefully ties into something we're talking about here to help inspire us. And this time, it's a first for this particular person that we're going to give a quote to, and it is journalist and satirist P.J. O'Rourke. And he had a quote. He said, "Freedom is not entitlement. It's not an endlessly expanding list of rights. The right to education, the right to health care, the right to food and housing. That's not freedom, that's dependency. Those aren't rights. Those are the rations of slavery. Hay and a barn for human cattle." So, and just like with the flair, you can imagine P.J. O'Rourke having said it with, boy, I think it's a great quote, and it really says what it is that those socialists are promising you with all their rights and that they're calling freedoms. What do you guys think about this quote?
Well, yeah.
Go ahead.
No,
go ahead.
you guys,
Go ahead.
Okay. We're arguing who's out the gate first. It's a great quote. I always have to. Back in my days when I was arguing, I would argue that rights are things that you already have possession of. They are things like your life, your freedom, your liberty, and your possessions, things that you own already. Okay. But, somebody giving you an education is not something you already own. You don't have that. You don't have a house unless you bought that house. So you don't have a right to a house or food or clothing or anything or medical care. You just, you have to have someone give you that or have someone take it from someone else and give it to you in order for you to have it. And that's not a right. You just that's not the definition of a right and not anything like it. And so therefore, freedom is when you have a government that protects the rights that you really do have, like your life and your liberty. You're not going to be thrown in jail for speaking out against the government, or you're not going to be. You're going to have to stand trial. You're going to be able to stand trial, and in front of a jury of your peers, and so on and so forth. And you're going to have right to legal representation, and so on. So why? Because you have a right to your freedom. It's yours. And so before somebody can take it away, they got to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that you don't deserve that right anymore. And so all this other nonsense about health care and so on, food and housing, total nonsense. It's just people that just want the power of government to take from those that have and give it to those that don't. And that's not freedom. Those are not rights.
Well, one of our founding documents, the Declaration of Independence, says life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We can say the opportunity to pursue happiness uninterrupted by the government, uninterrupted by the central planners. This is what freedom is. And remember, it's the opportunity to pursue happiness uninterrupted. And those are the things that are truly rights. Tim, you're absolutely correct. Those are the things that are rights as we know them. The government have taken upon itself in this country, especially the federal government, to create all sorts of rights. The right to food, the right to housing, the right to this. But what they are really doing is spreading a virus, a disease. It's a virus of dependency. And whenever you have dependency, you don't have rights. You don't have freedoms. And if you look around, say within the inner cities of America, where the rate of dependency is quite high, we can also see these cities that are affected by this virus are in total decline. And this is why Peter O'Rourke is so correct. These are not rights that are being disseminated. These are just dependencies. These are different forms of slavery. First, we have slaveries of the mind, of the chains, where we're in chains, mostly our black ancestors were mostly in chains. Now what is being distributed right now is slavery of the mind, where dependency is becoming the game. And this is doing nothing but destroying our society. So if we want freedom, we have to destroy the chains of the mind and the chains on the legs. Both must go.
You know, one thing that strikes me too there is when you think about the places that essentially enshrine themselves into the worst chains, or all of those places who bought into communism and free stuff. I mean, you look over at Venezuela, you look at, North Korea, we got China before it started making some of its reforms, Russia, or the Soviet Union rather. I mean, all of these places, they bought into the free stuff mentality, and boy, they wound up finding out that all those walls that they had around their country were to keep them from getting out. People couldn't get away fast enough if they were able to. From all that free stuff.
Just in order to make everyone equal, which is what these communists and socialists aim to do, and this is what Zoran Mandani is trying to do, to make all of us equal. The only equality we always end up with is the equality of misery. And there's no way to get around this, because in order to promote and to achieve this equality, you must use the force of government. There is no other way to get around that. No two human beings can ever be equal. But yet these socialists and these communists, like the one we have in New York that's about to become mayor, that is what they are aiming to do. And the only way they will achieve that is through the force of government.
Yeah, all we can strive for in equality is just to be treated equally under the law, and that's about it. I mean, everything else is just a fool's game that essentially takes away everybody's freedom in order to make sure everybody's equal.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, equality before the law, absolutely. And then the equal opportunity to pursue your own happiness. That is what is in our founding document. Not in those words, but something just like that.
Okay. Well, I tell you, speaking of, these issues of dependency, I guess, that brings us to our first topic, and that's talking about the whole government shutdown and maybe how we got there and some of the issues around that. But we are at day 21 now of the government shutdown. So it is supposedly the longest one in our history. And, can I get a cheer? They promise not to come back.
Oh God! Yes.
Yeah. Is it really? Is it really the longest? I mean, who told you that? Not Trump. Because
Yes,
Trump says it's the biggest, it's the best in the history of the country. It's the worst.
It is the longest. Whether Trump says it or not, it is the longest.
It is the longest, but let me give a background video here to let everybody know what's going on currently today. We've been showing you guys this just about every week since it started, so here's the latest.
Day 21 and the government is still closed for business with no end in sight. Federal employees across the country feeling the hurt of working without a paycheck against the backdrop of a White House renovation. President Trump welcomed Senate Republicans and targeted Democrats.
The Senate Democrats need to vote for the clean, bipartisan CR and reopen our government. They are the obstructionists.
On Capitol Hill, House Republicans also blaming Democrats for the hardships facing federal employees.
All of it hurts the economy, it hurts our national security, and it hurts the American people, and the Democrats seem not to care.
But Democrats say they do care about health care and are holding out to keep premiums from skyrocketing.
That they'd rather keep the government shut down than provide affordable health care.
So we have the longest shutdown on record now. So what's next?
For over a month now, House lawmakers have been away from the Capitol because House Speaker Mike Johnson is keeping them out indefinitely. But if this shutdown goes beyond November 21st, that means Congress is going to have to take up a new stopgap spending bill.
And the only question that really matters to politicians is who's to blame?
What about the question of blame?
Yeah, okay, what about the question of blame? Okay, you see here, you see Donald Trump's net approval rating was down 2018 to 2019. You talk about 2025 as net approval rating is up. It comes down to the blame game, a game I loved to play when I was younger. Blame Trump for the shutdown, a great deal. In 2018/2019, 61%, more than 3 in 5 Americans blame Trump, a great deal for that particular shutdown. You come over to this side of the screen, look at this. It's a different world. It's a different world. 48% of Americans blame Trump a great deal for this particular shutdown. So it's more than 3 in 5 back in 2018/2019. It's less than half, a drop of 13 points. Again, it's no real wonder that Donald Trump at this point, looking at the shutdown, says, you know what, it's not actually harming me politically, in large part because he's getting less of the blame.
Well, so what do you guys think? I mean, I'm not noticing it that much, but apparently there's a lot of government workers for the federal government who are noticing it, and they're talking about, food closets and other things. What do you guys think about this?
I just want them to stay shut down. I'll be fine with that. I mean, I know we need some essential services, the law enforcement, the military, and a few other things. The rest of them, they could stay shut down as far as I'm concerned, forever. It's tough. I wish they'll cut off about 3/4 of the IRS and just deal with a little bit of them. I'll be fine with that too. So I just want them to stay shut down. I really do. Let me just pick and choose. Let's see if we could find the essential agencies, and we could keep those. Everybody else could stay shut down forever, as far as I'm concerned, because these people are doing nothing. Okay, they do nothing but take away our liberties. They do nothing but create dependency and take away our liberties. So please, just remain shut down. I ain't gonna be mad at you. Believe me. Just stay that way.
Okay. Well, yeah, I can't complain about that. No, then they can't do too much damage. But hey,
exactly.
Yeah, but the problem is they're gonna come right back with a vengeance, and they're gonna just re-spend all the money that wasn't spent. They'll just all do it all at once, and we'll have a new higher debt ceiling, and we'll as we now roar past 38 trillion in debt, we will continue roaring into 39, 40, 41, 42, and on endlessly, spending. That's my cynical response. But gee, it'd be nice if they would shut down for longer.
Yeah, it's so funny that you mentioned that, Tim, the idea, because this is the issue, right? I mean, if we weren't spending ourselves into debt, if there were plenty of money, we wouldn't have a shutdown. Okay? I mean, that's really what this is all about, right? Is the fact that we have a spending problem in this country, and we just can't help stop spending it. And this is now rising so fast that it literally was just 37. If you blinked, you might have missed it, because it went from 36 to 38 faster than it's ever gone. And that should scare the hell out of everybody. This is the Treasury's graph that they have on their webpage, and they haven't even got it to 38 yet. They haven't adjusted. They blinked. Somebody took a coffee break, and they have not updated this yet. So maybe it's one of those guys who are out shut down right now who's supposed to have updated this.
Maybe so. That's probably it. But so that the audience knows, it's been only 10 weeks, 2.5 months since it went from 36 to 37 trillion, crossed that 37 trillion mark. Now it's over 38 trillion and counting. So in just 10 short weeks, boom, $1 trillion more added to the debt. So And what, do we have a pandemic going on? Did we shut down the economy? No, the economy is still humming along. Is there a war? There's no war. There's no, major weather situation.
There's always a war, Tim. There's always a military-industrial complex drain.
Oh yeah. For example,
it's not an existential war for us, but
yeah. How about let's talk about the boats leaving Venezuela, filled to the brim with lots of fentanyl and so on. Let's talk about it.
Leon, where did our let's hold on a second here. I think I got us. Okay. Something happened there.
I don't know what's going on here. I'm having some problems here, man.
Somebody hit a button.
We would assume that you're one of those federal workers who just we're gonna shut you down.
I just got the notice. And buttons just start clicking all by themselves. Okay.
Well, I tell you, this is something that should scare the heck out of all of us, in the sense that this is also the Treasury's data, and this shows what categories of spending are draining so much of our resources. And if you look here, tied at number 2 are 3 different items. So we have Social Security at number 1. That's 23% of what we spend every year. Then tied for number 2 is Medicare, health. I'm not quite sure what the difference of those two is, but trust government to figure out a way to complicate it. and then the net interest, and that is literally overtaken national defense. National defense is sitting down here at 13%, and interest on the debt. We are spending more now for our past largesse than we are for the military, to defend us. And that should just scare the bejesus. That's what eventually happened to Rome, right? They eventually were handing out funny money, in exchange. And instead of gold or silver, they went to pot metal for their coins. And, it wasn't that long ago that we got off the gold standard here. So.
Yeah. Well, when you say that, it reminds me that there is precious little concern about this increase in the debt. As nobody's worried about it. Nobody never made headline news about going to 38 trillion. Just, no one cares. So the difference between us and Rome is that we get all these cool charts and all these bar graphs and things that we can watch it happen.
That we can ignore, you mean?
Yeah. So well, some of us are ignoring it, and some of us are kind of shouting from the rooftops or from our iPads and other computers, and trying, to say, hey, this is not sustainable. But as long as the mainstream news and the powers that be don't care, doesn't mean it's not a problem, but it means that just nobody talks about it, or very few people. You can hear about it here, though.
Well, this debt increase that we are seeing. Okay, there was a time in our history, probably World War II, where there was a large debt increase, but it came down after World War II was over. But you know what, this thing that we are seeing right now, all this has to do with is this great desire of government, especially the federal government, to control us through the creation of dependencies. And that's what they're doing at all levels. And this is one problem with Trump that I do have. He seemed to have this thing of where he like to intervene into the economy all the time, whether it's through tariffs, whether it's through getting companies to invest in America, blah, blah, blah. Fine, getting companies to invest here is a good thing, but his picking winners and losers is potentially problematic. It may not be a problem at this point in time, but down the road, it can be when these companies start to sign contracts that are going to guarantee this and guarantee that and that kind of stuff, and somebody else is going to have to fulfill those promises. But this idea that the government has, that it has to create dependencies, and they're doing it at all levels, whether it's through individual programs, or all the welfare programs and everything else, or through what we normally call corporate welfare, this is being done. And this is what is creating this debt And on top of all the other things that we spend, all the foreign aid that we give out, all these sort of things, is nothing but dependency, whether it's domestically or internationally. We're trying to create a whole bunch of dependency that's going to end up biting us in our ass. And this is what is happening right now.
Yeah, and I don't know if I can just revisit that. I'm being maybe a little legalistic, but if you could run that chart back, the debt, the total debt chart. And I just wanted to point out, when Leon mentions that, so if you look at 1945, you see, so it from 1925 to 1940, it kind of tugs along. It's starting to increase, it's probably a percentage of, GDP as the GDP goes up in that time of the roaring 20s and so on. And even with the Depression in there, boom. So the debt jumps up for World War II, goes to 120% of GDP, and it's just over 100. It's like 127% of GDP now. But what you're seeing there is the nominal value in dollars of the total debt that we have now compared to about 1945. But the big difference was that debt during World War II was a lot of already created money. So people bought war bonds, basically debt instruments with their already owned dollar bills. They traded them for war bonds. And so a huge portion of that debt was already printed money. Whereas this big thing that you see, this big hockey stick over to the right there, this is all brand new printed money that was never in the economy already and then given back in the form of debt, where people were buying treasury bonds. No. This is a lot of monetization. And you'll notice too that after World War II, the debt wasn't totally paid down because that created the military industrial complex. And so from 1945, you see that big thick bar going across there. That's military industrial complex spending our money, to keep us safe for democracy and so on. That's it. And probably a ton of social spending as well in the 1940s, 50s, 60s, and 70s, and so on.
Well, I can't help notice that you used the term hockey stick, which this definitely looks like a hockey stick. And of course, this is a crazy thing. You will see all these people losing their minds about this existential hockey stick of debt, or not debt rather, but of climate change, essentially, global temperatures, and CO2 concentrations in the air. And this is, a very abstract threat at the least, and there's a lot that we don't know about that maybe, so there's a lot of uncertainty there. This is not uncertain. This is a iceberg that we can see, and we're headed straight toward. That is a wall that we are headed towards of debt. And these are all promises that have been made to people, and what's going to happen when we hit that is promises are going to get broken at some point, because we don't appear to be willing to do the moral thing and stop our spending here. So this is where we're headed.
I still predict, and I could be wrong, but I don't think that they're going to tell anybody you're not going to get paid. I think they're just going to monetize the debt. They're just going to create more money. From the Federal Reserve is just going to create and print as much money as they want. So there'll be extremely high inflation, and there may be a collapse of the monetary system, which is itself. So whichever way they go, if they go your way and default on who knows who, could be everyone. That's one thing, but which is bad enough. I mean, that would create a complete economic calamity across the world. But in the other sense, if they do what I think they're going to do, and that's just monetize the debt and just print, then that's going to create so much inflation, they will probably kill the dollar bill entirely.
Either way, it's going to crash.
Either way, it's coming down. The house of cards is coming down, and maybe Jason's way or my way, but it ain't going to be the highway.
Yeah.
Well, we better hope and pray that somebody comes to their senses before that we reach that point. We better hope and pray for that.
Yeah.
Because we have children and grandchildren to worry about.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, because of the time, I'm going to jump out of order on our stories just because there's not enough time to squeeze the video in for the next story before our break for public access. So I did want to talk about something that's going on here in California, just take our eye off of the federal for a second. But Governor Newsome has been signing a bunch of bills lately, and one of them is a bill on, anti-Semitism in the schools, and yet again, a way to divide us up on some kind of characteristic of race or identity or something or other. And boy, you can just trust that's what the Democrats are ever working on in the state, is other ways to divide us. So let's hear a little bit about that story. Yeah, there you go.
Lawmakers are fighting for the passage of a new bill to combat what they call a tidal wave of anti-Semitic incidents at Southland schools.
It is scary and sometimes dangerous to be Jewish right now.
And what our community is experiencing right now, it is something that is terrifying to us. We are watching an explosion of anti-Semitism on the right and on the left.
The bill, known as AB 715, passed the state assembly with unanimous bipartisan support back in May, but it has a long way to go.
Actually, the bill was just signed into law by Governor Gavin Newsome of California, and it is just one of the many ways that they try to parse our identities into subgroups and make special rules for things that should just apply equally to all of us.
If passed, it will strengthen anti-discrimination protections and ensure the curriculum and textbooks are free from anti-Semitism. Some opponents fear it will erase the Palestinian narrative while labeling all criticism of Israel as anti-Semitic. Anti-Semitic incidents at California schools have surged by over 600% in the last decade.
And of course, here is the story. There's Newsome signing it, and just happy as Dickens to be dividing us again in another along another line. I don't know how many ways they can carve that pie up, but yeah, it's it's kind of nuts. You guys got any quick shots on this before we have to say goodbye to our public access audience?
Well, this applies to the schools, and it's a damn shame, because the people in the schools are not but a bunch of propagandists. They're just spilling propaganda to our kids. They're not teaching them reading, writing, and arithmetic. And somehow or the other, they're going to do good on trying to solve this anti-Semitism problem that we have in our society. It's a damn joke.
Well, hold on, Tim. If you want to hear what Tim has to say and you're watching on public access, you're going to have to go online to knuckleheadsofliberty.com and catch the entire show there, because this is the end of our time for public access. But do go out, check us out there, and you can find this show and a whole bunch of others there too. So go ahead, Tim. Tell us what you were just about to enlighten us on.
Yeah, if you're Gavin Newsome gunning for the Democratic nomination for president, and you are not going to have a snowball's chance in the hot place of doing that without the help of the Jewish and Israeli caucuses. So you have to get that money, the big, huge money that they have out there. And one good way to do it is to have a bill like this, It's a good way of showing that, hey, I've got you guys. Look what I've done for you. I signed this bill into law that creates this special privilege for Jewish people and so on. Anyway, that's what I think it is. It's just a way for why else would he do it? Except he wants to become president, and he knows he has to get the help of Israel and the Jewish lobby in order to accomplish that feat.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, this is, I think what we were talking about a little bit earlier in the show about equality, but this is the point, equality under the law. And all we keep doing is dividing ourselves up by law after law after law that says there's some different consideration depending upon what color you are, what genitals you have, maybe if you claim a certain religious culture or something. It's nuts. With the same freedoms, the same rights should apply to all of us under the law. This is the heart of the problem, and I don't know. I just lose my mind every time this identity cult called the Democrat Party just has to divide us constantly. Sorry, Leon, go ahead.
Let's first acknowledge that anti-Semitism is a problem. Okay, it's a problem right now. It really is on campuses in particular. It is a problem. The issue that I think we need to really face is how do we solve that problem? But what Newsom is trying to do right now, again, like you say, Jason, is to divide us and also to censor in some cases. Because I would have bet you, I would be willing to bet you the public school teachers are a bunch of anti-Israel, anti-Jewish clowns. That's what they are. You could go listen to any of them. You could see some of them on social media and look at this kind of hate that comes out of their mouth. But still, do you really want censorship as the answer to this problem? It is a problem, and I think we should acknowledge that. But does the government proposing these new rules about, well, what could be in the curriculum, how it must be presented in class, blah, blah, blah. And you are talking to the same people, you're giving instruction to the same people who cannot even do their damn job right now, which the fundamental job, which is to teach the core courses of reading, writing, and arithmetic. And these fools are the one who going to implement this. These are the fools who are trying to make all our kids into transgenders. And these are the fools that are going to implement this new beautiful law that does nothing but divide us into these subgroups. And I do use that sub intentionally because these subgroups are always less than the elites of the Democratic Party. So the problem is we are not approaching this problem in any way that will eventually solve the problem. You are creating these special dispensations for this particular group, the Jews in this particular situation. Even though there is a problem, you're just creating a special dispensation, which is obviously going to cause problems within society.
Yeah. Well, and what I hear you saying, Leon, is, look, we've got laws to keep somebody from threatening somebody if they're Jewish, if they're black, if they're white, if they're a person, if they're a human being. That's it, right? We don't need to have one that says what color you are before we say, we're going to enforce the law. Unfortunately, we have a government that has decided they're not going to enforce a lot of laws, and then they realize it's a problem, so they decide then they're going to make a new law to selectively enforce some of the laws. It's just nuts.
Just last week, Jason, on this program, we were talking about it on this show. We were talking about this very issue, and Walter Williams said it the best. The government creates a problem, and the tolerance of the nonsense that's going on in society is certainly them creating a problem. They're not doing anything to enforce the laws as they should. So they're creating a problem, and you know what they're going to do? They're going to come and tell us about this wonderful solution that they're going to bring to us. And that's what those bills are, bringing the solution for the problem that they created.
Yeah.
They being the government.
Well, speaking of problems that government is creating for us, I think government might be creating another problem off the coast of Venezuela for right now. Not that Venezuela's government hasn't created a whole boatload of problems for themselves as well, but I think we seem to be creating a problem too. And it's the question is, let me bring up the article here. But we have now decided, in all of our wisdom in the drug war, that we're going to apply, I guess, Obama's terror drone strategy of just blowing things up. And that's what we're doing now with boats coming out of Venezuela. So I have a little video clip of this that I want to share to let everybody kind of get a little bit of background on it.
Here's Washington, D.C. Bureau reporter Ross Ketchke.
Tonight, the White House releasing video of the latest strike on an alleged drug boat in the Caribbean. According to President Trump, 6 people on board were killed in international waters just off the coast of Venezuela. The commander-in-chief claiming U.S. intelligence showed the boat was trafficking drugs. It's at least the 5th alleged drug boat obliterated by the U.S. military in the last few months. Since returning to office, President Trump has designated the cartels as terrorist groups. The deadly strikes raising questions on Capitol Hill about the president's use of military force.
So obviously this is a big deal from a liberty perspective when any government just decides to unilaterally execute people without showing any kind of evidence or being in a state of war. So the question is, does anybody have any concerns about this in Congress?
At least one Republican in the Senate backing a war powers resolution that was eventually voted down, but sought to limit the president's authority to target the boats without approval from Congress.
Since the U.S. policy is now to blow people to smithereens if they are suspected of being in a terrorist gang, then maybe someone should take the time to explain the evidence of their terrorism.
So kudos to Rand Paul, as usual, for being one of the lone voices for liberty in Congress. But let's find out a little bit about what those who are backing this action think.
Much of the U.S. crackdown on the cartels has focused on Venezuela and its president, Nicolas Maduro. Florida Republican Congresswoman Maria Salazar celebrating this latest strike, writing on social media, "We must use all means necessary to stop drugs from touching our country. I fully support all efforts to stop Maduro and all of his drug-selling gangsters and cronies."
They're a big purveyor of drugs, but we have worse. What they do very well is they send their criminals into the United States, and they send Tren de Aragua.
So we heard the rationale. It is all about the drug war. That is the rationale, apparently, for blowing up these boats before they get to American soil. But the rhetoric is getting even more heated. Recently, when somebody called this out as a war crime, J.D. Vance said he literally didn't give an SHIT. And recently, Trump, in a press conference, let off with the F word as well.
That Maduro offered everything in his country, all the natural resources. He even recorded a message to you in English recently, offering mediation. What should we do in order to stop that?
He has offered everything. He's offered everything. You're right. You know why? Because he doesn't want to f*** around with the United States. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
And I might not have censored all those words had I known that we wouldn't be getting to this during the public access portion of the show. But anyways, so you got the clean version here today. But yeah, this is the thing, right? I mean, we could clearly find out a little more information about what's going on, and yet we're not being given any, and we're just being told trust the government as we blow things up. And I think Julian Assange has taught us that we need to be a little bit skeptical when the government says that.
Tim, we can go.
Me too. Oh, okay. When did we start doing this? By executive order, it's just totally from the executive. So the executive now has power to do whatever they want, whenever to whoever, and for whatever amount of evidence that they will not and refuse to bring forth. They just trust us. They were drug terrorists. And the other thing is, never is the answer to the question is. But the question is, when will the United States concede that the war on drugs is over and the drugs have won? Okay. When are they going to concede that and start looking at this problem from the standpoint of decriminalization so that you can start addressing, the health aspects of drug addiction and drug use, and instead of just trying to micromanage this stuff outside, okay? Because it's not working. It's never going to work. And so never is when, but the government will always continue to try to do this kind of stupid stuff like blowing up people. I mean, hey, it's the president, right? We have nuclear weapons. Why doesn't he simply nuke the entire country of Venezuela, and kill the president at the same time? He's such a bad guy. Just nuke him. Just put it right down the typical, the government building where the president lives, and blow everybody to smithereens and blow half the country apart. Why? Why not do that? I mean, he can do that, right? But why doesn't he? I don't know. Maybe that's the next thing coming up.
Maybe that's the plan for Colombia, right? Yeah, we really want to get the cartels and just yeah.
Okay, so now that we have gotten all our feelings about Trump and his actions out of the way, let's acknowledge we have two problems with this drug issue. Okay, we have a demand side problem, we have a supply side problem. Okay, now the question then becomes which side of that problem we should attack. Okay, now I think probably we as liberty-minded would probably think it'd be better if we go on the demand side. right? We try to deal with the addiction problems that come from these drugs and try to help these people rather than spending billions of dollars every year to fight and persecute the war on drugs. And that war will continue forever, as far as I can tell. As long as there's demand for the drugs, people are going to find some way to get it here. Now, as to this actual policy of Trump blowing up these boats, okay, or at least ordering the blowing up of the boats, is it wrong? I don't know if it's wrong. I mean, and the problem I'm having here is the hypocrisy that's involved on this one. I mean, Obama was blowing up people all over the world. I didn't hear anybody complaining about that. Obama killed 2 Americans. Let me finish. Let me finish. Obama killed 2 American citizens. I think it was in Yemen, if I'm not mistaken. They were at the time. Did we see any major outrage about this anyway?
We did from Rand Paul, who actually did a filibuster on the floor of the Senate to say, hey, you got to tell us you're just not going to kill American citizens on American soil with these things. But anyways, go ahead.
Fine. Kudos to Rand Paul. But he's probably was the only person who said anything about all the people Obama's killing all over the world. So this hypocrisy right now, and what's worse about Obama's killings, these were killings that are occurring in sovereign countries. Okay, at least Trump killing these people in international waters. Okay, so I'm not going to sit by and be silent about the hypocrisy involved in this. Okay, now is the policy now actually the actual policy that Trump is executing? Is it really something that could produce some good results? I think not, because like I said, as long as there's a demand side problem, which we do have, we have a very big demand side problem here in the United States. The drugs are going to keep on coming. They're going to probably stop having to do it by speedboats. They're probably going to have to stop doing that because they know what's going to happen to them. But they're going to find some other route to get it here because there's a very huge demand side problem. The policy, though, of blowing up these boats is questionable at best. Seriously.
Yeah, I guess we all agree on this then, pretty much. Yeah. Sounds like to me.
Essentially, yes. Except for the part of the major hypocrisy involved, yes, I think we all agree.
Yeah. And just to
you know what? It'd be really hypocrisy if there was a Democrat that was complaining about it. But apparently the Democrats aren't. I don't know. I mean, the only one I saw was Rand Paul. Is there Democrats that are complaining about Trump blowing up the boats, or is it just Rand Paul and Thomas Massey?
No, I've seen a few Democrats complain about it. Just a few.
Okay.
Well, those ones who are missing out on their drugs. No. Sorry, I just had to throw that in there. I had to throw that bomb in there.
Shame on you, Jason. But yeah, I mean, if those guys also were complaining about Obama's blowing up people, then they weren't being hypocritical. So I don't know how much hypocrisy is out there. I see the majority of Democrats.
The only person who said anything about Obama killing people and killing, especially killing American citizens. Even though they were doing it on foreign soil, the only person that was Rand Paul. Okay, I had forgotten about that when I made my statement.
Okay. So so if there were Democrats now, a bunch of them that were complaining about Trump blowing up these boats, then that's hypocrisy, because they should have been complaining about Obama. So I don't know how much hypocrisy is going on. To me, I see the majority of the Democrats and the Republicans hunky-dory with Obama's 26,000 bombs he dropped in 1 year alone, 2016, on 7 different nations. I think they're all hunky-dory about that. I think that's just the best thing since sliced bread. And I also think those same people are hunky-dory about Trump blowing up boats in Venezuela and anything else he wants to blow up. As long as we're blowing people up, everybody's on board, except Rand Paul.
I would bet that Hunter Biden is probably upset that Trump is raising the prices on drugs. He doesn't have the same gravy train coming in anymore. His dad out of office.
talking
might be
about
true.
Hunter Biden. He was on TV today complaining about Obama for a different reason, but maybe that it was because the reason why he was complaining about Obama was because Obama had manhandled his father and take him off the stage when he was embarrassing himself. So I wonder if maybe part of the reason is that he couldn't get his drugs anymore while he was really complaining about Obama, but he couldn't say so, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and one of the things too, I just didn't want to let go on this as well, but just imagine what we would think if somebody like China was, just blowing up boats in international water because, hey, you're sending these terroristic ideas of liberty to Taiwan or something else like that. Who knows what reason they might have, but I think a lot of people would raise objections. We just happen to be the 1,000-pound gorilla in the room. People are kind of quiet about their objections.
Right. What if they were deep water fishing boats out of San Diego too? They went out into international waters, just heading on out to go and find fish, and they get blown up by China.
These boats are not. Come on. These are not anyway fishing boats. And I don't think the U.S. government is that stupid. The speed boats they're using. Come on, nobody's fishing. Is fishing there.
Okay, maybe they are, but you know what? You're thinking they're taking those speedboats and they're going all the way across the Caribbean in those speedboats, all the way to the United States.
No, I'm going to tell you where they're going. Okay,
where?
Those speedboats, and many of them are going to Trinidad. That's where they're going. Trinidad is a hub. Okay. From there get distributed.
Okay. And
Venezuela is 9 miles, 10 miles from Trinidad. That's where these boats trying to get to.
Trinidad. They're going straight there.
And then once they get there, it's distributed from there.
So Leon's blowing the lid off of the pirate economy of Trinidad.
So Leon, how do they move the drugs from Trinidad to wherever it's going next? The next stop, is it there's only two ways, by boat or by plane. So how do they get the drugs from Trinidad to wherever?
One or the other. Maybe a combination of both. Okay.
Combo of both. Okay.
Yes.
But why doesn't the drugs move? So why doesn't the U.S. government target the drugs also going out of Trinidad and Tobago?
Well, that is a question you may have to go ask Donald Trump that question. I am not sure.
Okay.
But there's a very, very bad drug problem in Trinidad right now. And a lot of people getting killed over those drugs that are coming in and out of Trinidad right now.
Okay, you know what I think? I think that the reason Trump doesn't give a flying what about the drugs coming out of Trinidad and actually going to the United States or intercepting them before they get to the United States obviously coming into the United States. And the reason why he does not care is because he wants to have a war with Venezuela over their oil, and he wants their oil, and he's going to take it the good old fashioned way, the way that the Marine Corps guy that says war is a racket, the guy that wrote all about how they took over all the other things for similar reasons. We're going to take over Venezuela to get their oil. And that's all they care about right now. It's got nothing to do with the war on drugs. Mark my word, in 2 years from now, we're going to have troops. We already have sent them over there. Okay, they're out poking around, looking around. Special forces are in Venezuela now. That's been admitted. Correct me if I'm wrong. Am I wrong?
I don't know if special forces are on the ground.
That's what I heard. I heard
we have a lot of drones
in Venezuela.
We have a lot of drones in and around Venezuela, and that's how I think. I don't know about special forces on the ground.
In fact, the Venezuelan president said, the United States sends boots all over the world. The CIA does to look around, but they don't talk about it. And Trump talked about it. And so that's what's going on. It's all about oil. It's nothing to do about drugs.
Tim, come
nothing to do.
You going to believe Maduro? You going to really believe Maduro? Seriously?
No,
Okay.
but I believe Trump, when Trump says there are boots on the ground, and when it's obvious that this whole thing, bombing these boats just outside of Venezuelan waters, well before they get anywhere they're going, that's all just nonsense to get the action close to Venezuela, so that the next step, boots on the ground. Watch the news.
Why do we need Venezuelan oil? Why do we need it?
I don't know. Who knows? It's Trump. We're talking Trump. He wants to be king of the world. He wants Canada to be a state, and he wants to take over Greenland. Was it Greenland or Iceland? Iceland or whatever. He wants to make that a state.
The only reason we need Venezuelan oil is because that idiot Biden wasn't allowing development of our own oil.
Well, Leon, Tim, I would tell you, who might be able to get to the answer to this is CBS with the help of Barry Weiss, because they're actually starting to do some real journalism now over there. And so I have a video on that I want to show you guys, because there's some interesting things happening at CBS.
And Paramount, the parent company of CBS News and Stations, is making a few major moves this morning. The company has purchased the Free Press, a digital news site, and the founder, Barry Weiss, will now serve as editor-in-chief of CBS News. And Weiss, who you'll see in the middle of this photo, started the Free Press in 2021 after leaving the New York Times as an opinion editor. Her letter of resignation talked about a culture of intolerance at the newspaper. She says she was bullied by colleagues who disagreed with her. In a statement from Paramount CEO David Ellison about Weiss's hire, he writes, quote, "We believe the majority of the country longs for news that is balanced and fact-based, and we want CBS to be their home."
So Barry Weiss has a remarkable turnaround as a sort of left-leaning reporter for the New York Times, who ironically gets fired for not being, or leaves, I guess, because she's under pressure for not being left enough for them, goes out and founds the Free Press, which really tries to put a lot more objectivity back into the stories. And then she winds up getting hired by legacy media CBS to come in and turn things around for them as well. One of the first interesting things that happened there was she wanted to just find out what it was reporters do, or the people at CBS do. And so she sent them all an email just trying to understand, as the new boss there, I guess, what it was people are doing. And the union actually told everybody not to respond, which is just absolutely nuts. So we definitely want to get into that. But then another incident happened where she came to the staff of 60 Minutes and she asked them, why does the country think you guys are biased? And that actually left them speechless, because I suppose they imagined they weren't. Anyways, let's discuss.
So there you guys go. What do you guys think of Barry Weiss taking over at CBS? Positive?
Yeah, most definitely. Now, you call Barry Weiss a left-leaning reporter, okay, or something like that. I don't think she was a left-leaning reporter. She is left-leaning in her personal life. There's no doubt about that, okay? But her reporting had a really good balance. At least those are the stuff I've heard that I've read. Have a really good balance. You remember that? What was the name of that reporter? You met him in Las Vegas, and your daughter took a picture with him. What's his name again?
You mean Glenn Greenwald, or was it because
Greenwald?
Yeah,
that's right. He was another reporter who was left in his personal life. There's no doubt about that. But his reporting tended to be quite fairly balanced. I think Barry Weiss is kind of the same person, but that's a different discussion. You see, this is what have happened to journalism in the United States, especially in the major media, in what we call the mainstream media, in both in print and in broadcast. These people have taken a side, okay? They have taken a side, and they believe everyone who come into their little realm, their little world, their little bubble, they must speak that narrative. They must print that narrative. Otherwise, they become an enemy of the state. And I put that in quotes because that is the little state that they have created at all these outlets, whether it's CBS, NBC, or whoever the stuff. They have taken a side, which is the side of the left. So now comes Barry Weiss, who is a more balanced reporter. Okay, that's how I see her, a more balanced reporter. And she wants to know, well, what the hell you do all day? We pay you money. Some of them is hundreds of thousands of dollars. We pay you money. what the hell are you doing for your salary? And what does the union say? Don't respond to that until they give you something else. You know what I hope she does? I hope she fire a whole bunch of those people. I really do. Because they are working for the company. And the company has a right to know what the hell you're doing with the time that you're supposed to be on the job. But these unions now, which are nothing but oh God, don't start me on the unions. I paid enough money to them against my will. But the point is though, what we are trying to get to, what these people, these left-leaning people are trying to get to, is a world without accountability. Okay, pay me the salary, and then you guys shut the hell up. Nobody should ask me what I'm doing. Nobody should see what I'm doing. I'm just gonna put out my left-leaning crap, and good luck if all make money in the process. This is damn nonsense. And I hope Barry Wise will do something and correct, or at least start the process of correcting this thing that they still call journalism here in America.
Is this Weiss lady, is she in management at CBS News?
She's the editor-in-chief.
Yeah, she's the top person essentially there.
Which is management,
Okay.
yes, to your question, yes.
Okay, so the Writers Guild Union is telling them not to answer questions about what they do during the day.
Yes.
To management.
Yes.
Questions from management.
Yes.
That's choice. That's very choice. Okay.
Yeah.
It's one thing to represent them in bargaining about, getting wages for what they do, but to not know what they do is that's something else.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's see what happens. I mean, I don't know anything more than, I didn't know anything about that.
Yeah, I know what I want to happen. I want to see some heads start to roll, and that's what I hope she will do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sounds like. All right.
Yeah, he's just absolutely nuts. I mean, here's this clear chain of command, and this, unions doing what they do. The crazy thing is, this is a private company with a, therefore non-government union. So you would think that would be the answer, is to clean house here. Right? So this is absolutely nuts. But that was actually the story I wanted to talk about with you last week, Leon, but we didn't make it to it. And then they added on this other nonsense about how she went to 60 Minutes and she went to the staff there, and she said, "Hey, do you guys know that the rest of the country thinks you guys are biased?" And they were just stunned. I mean, that's what the story is. They didn't know what to say to her, which I don't know how this is news to journalists, but that most of the country has thought that they've been kind of siloed now for a decade or two at least, right? So I don't know how they missed that.
Go ahead, finish.
No, you go ahead.
This is just the problem. This is just his problem. These newsrooms all over the country, and all of these established places, ABC, NBC, CBS, the Washington Post, the New York Times, and all these big newspapers, they are little bubbles. They live in the bubble. So they speak to each other, and they all tap each other on the back about these great stories they write. When to middle America, it means very little. And they can't see that. That is why they're so amazed and shocked when Barry Wise comes in and tell them, most of the country think you guys are a bunch of biased fools. But those are not her words. Those are mine. Okay, I wish she had said that. But they can't see. They couldn't possibly see what she's saying. This is foreign to them because they live inside this echo chamber, these nice little bubbles. Yeah. They create these narratives that make sense only to them. But when the newspapers go out into middle America, what are we looking at?
Yeah.
A narrative from the DNC. That's what it's looking like.
Well, and I think this is what when you question whether or not Glenn Greenwald and Barry Weiss were left-leaning, and I would say that both Barry Weiss and Glenn Greenwald would have characterized themselves as left-leaning about a decade ago, but they don't think they changed. They think that the Democrat Party changed and that the left just went radically farther to the left, and suddenly they found themselves in the middle, not because they moved to the middle, just because they were standing still on their principles. And I think that's the issue here, is that the left has gone just so nuts that people who aren't just following the herd, like Barry Weiss and like Glenn Greenwald, they're still asking skeptical questions, and that's just, kind of blowing the lid off the cult there, the siloed media there. And yeah. So anyways,
that's a valid point. Valid point.
Yeah.
Valid point. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I think this gets us to, our last story of the day, and that is our Knucklehead Noise Patrol, which is some of the nuttiness going on in New York in the mayor's race there. And that brings us to Mr. Socialista Zoran Mandani and his some of the recent stuff he's talked about there and some of the problems they're having with the bus system there. So I've got a quick video to let you all know what's going on there.
Well, we hear a lot about violence in the subways, but there have also been some recent incidents involving MTA buses, including one that was shot at earlier this month.
In tonight's City Under Siege report, Fox 5's Arthur Chien takes a closer look at how often buses come under attack.
When a shooting of an MTA bus in the Bronx injured 3 female passengers on board Saturday, the response was immediate at the corner of Westchester and Tinton Aves. And during that response, we learned that for that bus driver, it was the second time his MTA bus was shot while he was behind the wheel.
Wow, seems like just yet another place where crime seems to be getting out of hand in big blue cities on your public transit buses. So how often does it occur?
The shooting highlights what seems to have become routine violence involving MTA buses, from shootings to slashings, sometimes targeting passengers, other times targeting bus drivers. MTA sent us data on its bus drivers being assaulted and harassed. It shows assaults are a regular occurrence monthly, and when it comes to being harassed, the line in blue on top, that happens more frequently than any other category of New York City Transit employees being targeted.
As you might have guessed, it appears to be a regular occurrence. So I guess the next question is, why is this occurring in these big blue cities?
Well, bus drivers have always been working on the streets and have had some risk because of it. Some tell us one thing that's changed is an acceptance of fare evasion. While we know about problems regarding turnstile jumping, the MTA says in even greater numbers, people aren't paying when they get on buses. On this same day, we watched as about 2/3 of people boarding an MTA bus did not pay, not at the SBS kiosk and not when getting on board. Drivers say that affects our safety.
So how are we going to solve this problem of fare evaders getting violent with bus drivers? Well, don't worry, because it appears that the very likely new mayor of New York City, Zoran Mandani, has a plan. Let's hear what it is.
I think it's one of the key reasons why we have to make buses free is because it reduces the assaults on bus drivers. It creates a safer work environment.
Yep, you heard him correctly. The solution for every socialist candidate running everywhere, including Zoran Mandani, the answer is always and evermore free stuff. Free daycare, free food, free bus rides. It doesn't matter. There's some way that making somebody else pay is going to solve the problem.
And so there you have it. And of course, that's the just one of the many things that he is saying he wants for free. And I can't help but, be taken back to the quote we started with about free stuff to tie it all back together. But New York, this is where you're headed. These are chains. These are not the keys to freedom. They're your chains in the future. What do you guys think about this story?
If somebody would just give this fool a basic lesson in economics, a basic supply demand lesson in economics, if you lower the price, you're going to increase the incentives for people to do what they are doing. So if you lower the price to zero, right, which is what you intend to do, obviously it's not really zero because somebody is going to be paying for it. But if you lower the price to zero for the person who's actually boarding the bus, you're going to see more of it. That's what they're going to do. You're going to have more of the same people climbing onto the buses. And what do you think is going to happen? Some other issue is going to come up and they're going to assault the bus driver. And then I guess they're going to think about something else to give away for free to bribe the person not to assault the bus driver. You create a problem and then the government is going to find a solution first. You watch and see.
And just to add, well, I just wanted to add something to what you just said, Leon, because it's something that came up in that story too. It's not just the bus drivers that are being attacked; it's other people. So this isn't just about the fares. Meaning, these people who are fare evaders are attacking some of the passengers too. So letting a whole bunch of people more on that aren't willing to pay the fare is going to lead to less attacks on the Anyways, just yet another prediction for the future of public transit in New York. Sorry, you get back to what you were saying.
I'm good. You essentially made the point. Yes.
I just want to make sure I understand the logic that this extremely intelligent Mondani guy is doing economically. So economics. So right now, with people paying to get on the bus, so that they have a vested interest, the ones that pay, to getting from point A to point B, and they probably don't want to assault the bus driver. So this guy thinks that in that environment, to make it even more safe for the bus driver would be to eliminate all vested interest whatsoever. And so then the people that get on there that are of a mind to commit violence won't even have the vested interest that they want to go to point B at all. And then maybe to get there, they shouldn't assault the bus driver. They won't even have that anymore. They will have no skin in the game whatsoever. And so that is going to create a safer environment rather than a more dangerous environment. And that's the logic he's using, which escapes me.
Well, the bottom line is socialism always produces equality. A very nice equality. It's the equality of misery. That's what it does. And that's exactly what Mamdani is going to create in New York. Believe me, he will.
Well, I tell you, I just thought while we were talking, I wanted to invoke our quote of the day from last week because I feel like it's very appropriate again, Leon. You brought that up, and let's bring back Mr. Walter Williams again. So they want to. His quote was, "Most of the great problems we face are caused by politicians creating solutions to the problems they created in the first place." Now, what is the problem here? The problem is they're not enforcing these people to pay the fare, right? I mean, they're literally not enforcing the crimes. And so their solution is, let's double down on let's make it free. Gosh, Mr. Williams, where are you when we need you?
When we need you. When we need you. For sure.
He got out while the getting was good.
Yeah.
But one thing I did want to say too is Zoran Mondani, and we talked about this in a previous Knucklehead Noise Patrol about the socialist plan he wants to bring to to New York is straight out of the playbook of Venezuela. And here we have a chart here. This is a New York Times article here. And they talk about how food in Venezuela went from subsidized to scarce. And this is the point, right? I mean, they try to make everything free or, heavily government dependent, and it screws up everything. And in this one chart, New York Times, they put this up here, and this was from an article from 2017 after the whole experiment in Venezuela went off the rails. They show this flat line of food prices while government is subsidizing it until they run out of other people's money. And when they do that, the prices of basic groceries heads to the moon, and minimum wages don't even keep up anywhere near that. They're way down here. So essentially, it's like an astronomical climb in the price. It looks like it's practically free. It's like it's zero. It's where this food line is, right? And then suddenly it shoots up an infinite increase, I guess, where that minimum wage just isn't keeping up with it. Anyways, it just absolutely nuts, and we see it happen over and over again. And here's Zoran wants to use the same playbook in New York, and people on the left just can't see through it. Yeah,
it's amazing. But we always have. Maybe we could end with this. We should always remember Margaret Thatcher's words that socialism always fails because the government always runs out of other people's money.
Yeah. No, very, very well said. Well, I think that's pretty much all we have for you guys this week. So until next week, think about what you can do in your community to advance the ball for liberty, because as you see, these nuts are coming for you everywhere in New York. They're about to get it good and hard when they elect Zoran Mondani. They're going to get those chains that they think are freedom coming at them good and hard. So, but it's all about you standing up and doing something in your community. So until next time, think about what you can do, and then stay tuned and stay free.
Yes, indeed. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, always and forever.
Thank you for listening to the Knuckleheads of Liberty podcast. Find us on Facebook, Rumble, YouTube, your favorite podcast network, and at knuckleheadsofliberty.com.